The objective of this video is to demonstrate the procedure of writing robot file and executing Python test using the robot framework. We'll assume that you have already installed robot framework, which we have done in one of the previous videos. For now, we have already created a project, which we can see under project files. We'll go to robot framework testing. We'll click on the drop down. We'll get two different folders. First folder is driver and second folder is testing file. Now let's go to testing files folder, right click on it to create a new file. Once you will right click, you will get a drop down, new, and then you will go to file and click on it to create a new file. You'll specify a name to the file. We are specifying it as testing.robot. You'll press enter. Once you'll press enter, it will initialize the project and it will open testing.robot. Typical content of testing.robot is it contains three important elements of settings. First is the library. Selenium library is what we are using. Then variables, where we have specified browser to be Chrome in line number 5. In line number 6, we are specifying the URL which will be under test, that is http://www.google.com. Line number 8, we are defining another important element of setting, that is test cases. We are checking Google searching in line number 9. Line number 11 is all about creating the web driver for Chrome, where we have to specify the location of the Chrome driver by using execution_path equal to path where your driver file is. Be careful and specify the right path and the right driver which is compatible with your current Chrome version. Line number 12 is all about opening the browser, passing the URL and the browser. Line number 14, we can go and we can specify keywords that we want to search. This is how you will be writing testing.robot file. Once it is ready, we need to know about the path where actually testing.robot is there and we'll copy it. We'll right click on the tab, go to copy path and select the path. After selecting the path, we'll launch our command prompt. We need to ensure that we are there in the right folder where our testing.robot file is, and for that we'll use cd and we'll specify the path where our testing robot file is present. We'll move to that particular folder and we will invoke the test by writing robot followed by name of the robot file, which in our case is testing.robot. We'll press enter. Once we'll press enter, it will start testing. As a result of test, it will display whether it has passed or it has failed. The objective of this video is to build and test APIs using Flask. Flask is one of the important frameworks which can be utilized in Python in order to build API. We are going to see how we'll build and test API which are driven by Flask. To do that, first we will launch our PyCharm IDE. Once we will launch, you will come to a page where you will have Project Explorer in extreme left and you will have IDE in the center. Let's go ahead and create our first Flask project. To do that, we'll go to File. We'll select New Project from File menu item and we'll select Flask. We'll specify name to the project. After specifying all the inputs, we'll click on Create. Once you click on Create, you will get a pop-up window where you can decide, do you want to attach this with this window or you want to create a new window. We'll click on Create New Window. Once we'll click on Create New Window, it will create a virtual environment and ensure that that environment is powered by Flask. We'll see that we get a project named as Flask API. Under that, we'll have static, template, venv, that is library root, and app.py. We'll go to app.py and we'll write certain lines of code in order to define our API. Within the API, we have written from Flask, import Flask, request and JSONify. Objective of request is to ensure that we are able to handle request. Objective of JSONify is to ensure that we are able to manipulate our request and response in form of JSON. We have written in line number 2 app equal to Flask, specified underscore name underscore. Line number 3 is defining the route, where we have written @app.route. We have specified a URI, that is /test, followed by supported methods, which is written in form of an array. We are using get and post method. Line number 4, we are defining the test. After defining the test function, in line number 5, we are specifying the body, where we have written if request.method equal to get, return JSONify response get request called. So it will convert it in form of JSON. Else if is specified in line number 7, where we are writing request.method equal to post. Line number 8, we are taking request.json and we are initializing request underscore JSON. Line number 9, we are using req underscore JSON, passing the attribute that is name to get the name from the request. Line number 10, we are returning after making call to JSONify method, passing response and the response text that we want. We are passing hi, followed by the name that we have retrieved in line number 9. Line number 12 and 13 is all about running the file, where we have specified if underscore name underscore equal to main. Line number 13, app.run. For debugging, we have enabled debugging by writing debug equal to true, and we have specified the debug port as 9090. Next, we will go on the top toolbar and we'll click on the run button. Once you click on run button, in the console, you'll find that now your debug server has started at 5000 port. We'll copy the URL and we'll paste the URL in a new browser. After pasting, we'll specify the URI in order to make call to the method. We'll press enter and you'll find outcome as response get request called. This is how you can go and you can write API and test API using Flask. The objective of this video is to demonstrate the process of testing APIs built in Flask using Postman. Let's try to first build an API using Flask. To do that, we will launch PyCharm. After launching PyCharm, we'll go to our project which we have already created called Flask API. We'll click on drop down and we will go to app.py and select it. Once you will select, it will load the file in the editor where we have written our first set of API. We'll run the API by clicking on the run button and we'll get a port along with the complete IP which we can use to test our API that we have written. Now we'll move to Postman. On Postman, we'll go and we'll click on existing collection that we have, or we can also create a new collection. Let's go and reuse the collection that we have. We'll click on get request. We'll get method from where we will select get, which is by default selected, and we'll enter the URL along with the endpoint that is /test. After writing, we'll click on send button. Once we'll click on send button, we'll find the outcome where we will get the response in form of get request called. So this indicates that by just using URI, we'll be able to test it. You can see the status 200 OK. You can see time that it took for execution and also total size of the response. Now we have to go and we have to save the request. To do that, we'll right click on manual testing, which is the collection name. Go to add request, specify name of the request and click on save to manual testing. Once you'll click on save to manual testing, you can go and you can test a new request that is post request. For that, we'll go to body, select JSON, specify the URL. We have to enter the parameters and parameter that we are entering here is name, which is the key, :lx, which is the name. Next, we'll press on send. Once we'll press on send, it generates the response and we can clearly see that response under body is response : hi LX. This also shows you the status, the time that it took, and the size. This is how you will be testing APIs built in Flask using Postman. The objective of this video is to configure Behave framework for Python testing. Behave is a behavior-driven development framework. It integrates well with Python. It can also be considered as one of the approach of implementing agile software development paradigm or technique in Python. Now to configure Behave, we will be using our command prompt. To start off, we will first see the list of available pip packages on our system, and that we will do by typing pip followed by list. Now from the list of pip packages, we can find out that Behave is not available on our system. To install Behave, we will use the command pip followed by install followed by Behave and press enter. It will start downloading the file and it will install the required packages. Once installation is over, it will show that it has successfully installed Behave with the version number. Now let's go and verify the same by passing the command pip followed by list and then press enter. Now we can see the list, and in the list we will find Behave is also available in the third row. We will now switch to PyCharm IDE to verify the same. Now on the IDE, we will go to File in the menu bar, click on Settings, and on the Settings page, we will go to the project that's there in the IDE currently. Name of the project is Testing. We will now click on plus icon located towards the right hand side of the settings window. A new dialog box will show up with the list of all the available packages. Now when we type Behave in the text search field, we'll be able to locate the same in the list of packages directory. This signifies that we have successfully installed and verified availability of Behave on our system. Let us now install this package on our project by clicking on the Install Package button that's there at the lower part of Available Packages window. Once the installation of package is done, it will show up a message stating Package Behave installed successfully. This is how we will configure the Behave framework for Python testing. The objective of this video is to implement BDD testing in Behave framework by writing features file. We have already created a project named Testing in the PyCharm IDE that can be seen at the left-hand side of the window under the project panel. Now to make sure that Behave package is there in our project, we'll go to the venv folder which is inside testing project. Then we will move to the lib subfolder and move to site packages. Once we move to site packages, we will get the list of all the packages which are installed in our project. In the list of packages, we have a folder called Behave, which confirms that package is available in our project. Let us now create a directory by right-clicking on the project name. We'll go to New and select Directory from the context menu. We will give the name of the directory as Features and press enter. We will now create a feature file by going to the Features folder, by right-clicking on it, select New and Gherkin feature file, which is available in context menu. In the new Gherkin features file box, we'll give a name. Let's give name as Google Search and click on the OK button. Feature file will contain high-level description of test scenarios in simple readable language. And this is what is called as Gherkin. It's a plain English text language. Our current activity will generate a .feature file. Inside the Google search.feature file, we have now two sections. First section is feature and second section is scenario. A feature would describe the current test script which has to be executed, and scenario describes the steps and expected outcome for a particular test case. We have already pasted a scenario in line number 5. Line number 5, we have mentioned the scenario name as test Google search. Line number 6, we have used given keyword, which is used to state some precondition steps. In current case, we have mentioned as I am on Google search page. Then we have to use when, which is used for some key actions, and that we have done in line number 7, where we have mentioned I type in text to search. In line number 8, we are extending the when keyword by using and mention it as I hit search button. In line number 9, we have then keyword, which will observe the outcome or validation, and there we have specified I should be on the search result page. We will now hover over the scenario script where we will be given a suggestion to create step definition. We will click on create new step definition file dialog box will pop up. We will click on OK button. After we click on OK button on create new step definition file dialog box, we will see a new steps folder in the features folder. When we expand the steps folder, we will get a new file named googlesearch.py, where we will see the step definitions of all the keywords specified in the Google Search.feature file. Now we can also create an individual step definition file for each and every keyword specified on the feature file. To do that, we'll move back to Google Search.feature file, hover our mouse in the then keyword, and click on the create step definition link on the suggestion pop-up. You need to do the same task for the rest of the keywords. Now let's move to Google Search.py file by double-clicking on the same. In order to check the synchronization, we are printing some statements. In line number 11, we have defined the step definition for given keyword. Line number 19, we have defined the step definition for the when keyword. And line number 27, we have defined the step definition for the and keyword. Finally, line number 35 also have a definition of step for the then keyword. We will now navigate back to the feature file and execute the same. To execute, we will click on the play button, which is available on the top right hand side of the IDE. The output console at the bottom of the IDE will show that it's synchronized with the keywords successfully. Now, this is how we can implement BDD testing in Behave framework by writing features file. The objective of this video is to automate testing of web components using Selenium with Python. For this demonstration, we are going to use PyCharm IDE. We have already set up Selenium plugin on PyCharm IDE using Python script. We have created a project named Python with Selenium at the left-hand side of the IDE under the project panel, inside which our main files are in testing directory. We will click and expand the testing directory and then double-click on google.py file to explore the content. For this demonstration, we are trying to automate the process of searching on Google. We will be searching for Python with Selenium using the current automation process. Now we are importing the WebDriver from Selenium in the first line. In line number 2, we are importing the unit test library. In line number 3, we have written the class named Google Search, taking the arguments unittest.testCase. From line number 6 to 9, we have a setup function in which line number 7 describes the location of the Chrome driver. You need to ensure that you are specifying the correct path where you have stored your Chrome driver. We have saved our Chrome driver in the driver directory, which is located at the project panel under the Python with Selenium project, which we can see at the left-hand side of the IDE. In line number 8, we have used implicit.wait function to ensure that compiler waits before executing the next statement. Now, line number 9 is all about managing the browser window, where we have written driver.maximize.window command, which maximizes the window as soon as it is loaded. In line number 11, we have defined test search Google function where we have given Google's URL in line number 12. Line number 13 is using find element by name, which takes Q element of Google's search text field. You need to find the text field name by inspecting in case if you are not aware. Once we take Q element of Google search text field element as an argument, we are using another chained method called as .sendKey, where we are specifying the text that we want to search. Now, since we want to search for Python with Selenium, we are specifying the same text in sendKeys function. Line number 14 is all about enabling the click, where we want our driver to click on Google search button after the text field is populated. Now from line number 19 to line number 21 is all about utilizing teardown class function, which will take responsibility of closing and quitting the driver in order to ensure that it is collecting the garbage. And finally, line number 22 will print the result as test completed to indicate that test has been successfully completed. Now let's try to run the file. In order to run the file, we will right click on the editor and click on Run Unit Test for Google from the context menu. You'll find that Chrome browser opens automatically, along with a message indicating that Chrome is being controlled by automated test software. Now, after a couple of seconds, you'll find that Google web page is loaded and it is filled with the specified text. Text which it is using is the same text which we have used in sendKeys. And next, it automatically clicks on Google search button as indicated on line number 14. After that, browser automatically closes as specified in the teardown function. Now let's go to console output, which is present at lower part of the IDE. We'll notice a message indicating test completed, which means the search part of our web page is working fine and hence result shows test completed. This is how we can automate testing of web components using Selenium with Python.